Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us today. We're just going to take a minute or so to make sure everyone can get logged in. We know all the platforms are a bit different, so just take a minute to make sure people are joining if they can. I know a few people are joining by phone, some by video. At the end of the webinar later today, we will send a follow-up, and it will have the recording of this session. And we really encourage you to share it with your other colleagues, pass it along. Anyone can then view the recorded webinar after the fact. So I know people are joining from a few different places. I see all across the country, really, even some abroad. So we welcome you. I'm coming from sunny Florida, so I'm a bit spoiled today. I hope you guys are all having a good day. All right, I think we're at a good point to jump on in. So thank you again for attending and coming today. We are very excited to cover a great topic with you today, highlighting a perfect use case for palletizing, specifically Cobot palletizing, through our customer Cascade Coffee. They've been a customer for almost 2 years now, and they've really established themselves and really taken on the Cobot application and specifically palletizing and embraced it. And we really want to pass that knowledge along to you today so that you can go ahead and replicate the same things within your own facilities. So I'm going to start with a brief video from Ron over at Cascade Coffee.
Robotique lives up to exactly what they promise that they'll live up to, which is collaborative robots that will make your manufacturing process better, easier, and safer. They make the integration flawless, the equipment, we've had zero issues from a maintenance standpoint. They do exactly what they say they're going to do, and they've made us a better factory just by them being here.
That's a bit of inspiration to get started here. We want that to be all of you. So if you're listening today and you are looking for the things mentioned in that video, easier, safer, better installments, specifically with Cobot technology, you're in the right place today. We're very excited that you're here to join us.
Robotique.
I am joined by Gina Kim with Olympus. My name is Kendra Patton. I am the palletizing expert at Robotique and live and breathe all things Cobot palletizing. So between the two of us, we're really excited to kind of share the story. Gina, you were pretty close to this project. So.
Yep, my name is Gina Kim. I'm the robotic sales specialist for Olympus Controls. I'm based in Seattle, so we're the local automation partner for Robotique in the Pacific Northwest. So thanks for coming today.
Thanks for joining us, Gina.
So we're going to talk about my customer up in the Everett area, and the agenda for today, we're first going to talk about why Cascade Coffee looked to automation and some of the challenges they were facing. Then we'll talk about the principles of lean robotics, some of the design considerations when we were building the cell, and then actually implementing that cell. And then we'll talk a little bit about the business impact and then have some time for some questions.
So Gina mentioned that she's up in the Seattle area, and Cascade Coffee that we speak to today deployed many of these units. And we see that quite often that customers start with one unit and then quickly can replicate on multiple lines. And it's really led to a huge success for Robotique. We've deployed nearly 450 of these solutions in different environments. Specifically in food and beverage, we see a huge increase in this space. Again, this product has been on the market for the last few years, and the food and beverage industry has really been the subset of most of these deployments. I think that just happened economically with some of the shift in increase in production in those spaces, and then trying to keep up with demand. So that is what we saw at Cascade as well. But we're really not limited to those industries. So a few of our typical customers are highlighted here. Again, that food and beverage segment is very heavy in the coffee sector, in candy, in meat processing as well. So that's really some of the key customers in the food and beverage space. But then a few others to highlight would be the pharmaceutical space with a few large names there, as well as the consumer goods space where some of these boxes are being moved for certain items as well. If you really think of that manual task that's being done by an operator right now with a box, and it's being taken off of a conveyor and it's plopped onto a pallet to then either be moved within your facility for storage or to then go to the shipping area to leave the facility. It's a great fit for a Cobot palletizer. So start thinking about where those manual tasks are in your facility, and it's usually a good fit for a Cobot. So I know Cascade Coffee saw this as a big opportunity. So Gina, what do we know about Cascade Coffee?
Yeah, so Cascade Coffee, they're the co-manufacturer for a lot of the big brands that you've probably seen before or drank before. So they take all the raw beans from the burlap sacks and then roast them, flavor them, and they pack them into K-cups and bags that you use in your home or office. And some of the team here that was involved were the executive team, Greg Thayer and Ron Kane, who were the decision makers in deciding on what technology to use. And then Dennis Stickles really was there all the way from like the research stage all the way to deployment, maintenance, and now he runs all the robots and does his own programming. And then of course we have all the operators who use the robots every day. So what were some of the challenges that they had? So like everyone else, they have labor shortages, and with 400 SKUs, they're constantly shifting pallet configurations, box types, and so it's really spendy to be training all the new hires to, be ready to work. And so some of the jobs too, you can kind of imagine palletizing is a really hard and boring task, and so turnover was really high. And again, like performance wise, it was, you could really feel it in the factory when there was a bottleneck somewhere. So upstream, if there was an issue, they'd take people from the palletizing area and move them upstream, and then the palletizing area gets into a bottleneck, and then it's all hands on deck. And so they were really looking for something to help address these challenges.
Great. So some of that kind of thought process, if you're thinking about what is a current challenge in your facility, Gina and I talked to a lot of different engineers and people tasked with figuring out where to deploy automation within their facility. It's no easy feat. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would have a perfect timeline, a perfect budget. Everything would go to plan. But we know that's not reality. So what's great is along with our deployment of our solutions, we really encourage you to check out this methodology of lean robotics. Our CEO wrote this book, back when Cobots kind of first hit the market, and it walks through the process of deploying Cobot solutions in the best way possible. It's really important when you're digging into these things to stay diligent in these phases outlined in the Lean Robotics book to ultimately give you the best success and ultimately lead you to a good deployment. Now, Cascade Coffee was familiar with Lean Robotics, and they actually implemented this methodology as they went through their deployment. And that's why some of those challenges were identified. And then they kind of were on the right path, knowing that palletizing was probably the best fit for that first installment. But it wasn't without additional talk to the Olympus team and some of our resources to make sure that they were on the right journey. Within the lean robotics space, this methodology, again, the best and simplest takeaway is to keep it simple. It sounds great on paper. We all think that we do this day in and day out as we're looking at these projects, but I want you to consider maybe you want to make a home improvement, and your home improvement in your mind is, I'm just going to change up the wall color in the room. I've been sick of this dark color, want to lighten it up a little bit. And so you go to the store, you pick out some paint, you switch over to the paint, and then you notice, the paint really doesn't match the floorboards that I have, and maybe I want to get rid of this old carpet. So then pretty soon you're switching out the floorboards, and then you notice that the edging doesn't really match either. And then you're like, well, we might as well replace the windows if we're redoing all the edging. And pretty soon you are way beyond the timeline that you had in mind. You had said to yourself you want to get into this new office space by the end of the year, and now it's 2 months later, you've spent way more money than anticipated, and you still don't even have a space you can work in. So the takeaway is that an incomplete cell, unfinished room rather, creates no value, right? You can't use it as an office space. The same thing happens in automation. You probably have all been involved in projects where you start something and it turns into a project scope creep, and it just continues to evolve. It's really important to keep it simple, and something like Cobot Palletizing, it forces you to keep it simple because it's defined for you what you're going to tackle and how you're going to tackle it. And we have a lot of tools that can help you make sure that you stay within those bounds as you identify the project. So, that's why palletizing is a really good start. So if it's your first cobot and you're a little intimidated by diving into robotics, the cobotics or collaborative robots has really opened the door for users of any level of technology capability to use cobots, right? It's opened this door, but identifying what application you want to use the cobot in is still very important. So when you think of that palletizing task, again, think of that end of line manual task, someone physically moving boxes all day. I've been in a few facilities where you watch the person wait for the box to come down the line. It's not a very good use of that person's time. They can be moved and shifted into a better value add task within the facility. And so it's really important to, again, kind of consider palletizing. Also, the application itself is fairly repetitive, and we already have a lot of the data known to us, right? You're provided with, an example like you see in that image where the boxes and how they need to be put on the pallet. It's just a matter of getting them there. So a lot of this is already defined based on how you need to ship it, the cost effectiveness and efficiencies with getting it out the door onto the trailer. So that's all kind of built into it. And you can easily define that ROI because you know how many boxes per minute you're moving out the door today. And you can kind of base it off of that. So if you consider lean robotics, I'll take one pause here actually. If you guys have any questions as we're going through this, please don't hesitate to hit them up in the chat. We are looking at those questions and kind of gathering them as we go. So I encourage you to don't be shy to propose questions as we're going through. So going back to our lean robotics methodology, the book really breaks it down into 3 distinct sections: design, integrate, and operate phase. So that design phase is really where you get started. And I would say if you nail the design phase, your integrate and operate phase are going to be that much more successful. So, going back to Cascade Coffee, I'll let Gina, kind of talk to some of the design. So what did Cascade, how did they approach this as they, kind of seeked out first steps?
So Dennis had some previous experience with robotics and machine building. So they kind of said, Dennis, do some research on what's out there. And so the first thing he did was kind of identify what they were looking for. And so the main considerations were they really wanted the solution to fit seamlessly into their plant. And so they wanted pallets to stay on the floor, use their existing equipment. And then they also really have tight space constraints, and so the manufacturing lines are really close. The traffic lanes for forklifts are really close, and so they needed something to fit in their current floor plan. And then for time frame, they were ready to roll. They needed something quickly. They wanted something to start helping them out right away, and so that was another need for them.
Yeah, because those pain points have been felt for a long time, probably similar to a lot of you listening in the facility. You felt this pain for a long time. So when you do want to make a decision to move, it's often quickly. So makes sense. So Gina, speaking to some of the other considerations that they had, I know they had looked into industrial robots as well, like these big cells you see in the image. What were his kind of concerns with that?
Yeah, as he was doing his research, obviously there's a lot of robotic palletizers, and a lot of the industrial solutions, sure, they may have been really good cycle time, but they're usually a really large footprint because of the safety caging you have to have, and usually have an integrator involved to do all the programming, and so also the timeline too. It just seemed like it was going to be months before they were going to get something, and so part of that, flexibility of owning the program is what they were looking for, because they're a co-manufacturer. They might not know what SKUs are coming in for production for the week, and so their own team needs to be able to quickly build up a pallet and maintain it themselves instead of calling an integrator every week to help them make changes.
Certainly. I often see people dedicate a whole room to palletizing, as you see in that image, and you may not have the floor space to do that. And then if, as Gina said, if you want to switch over in the next year or two based on some different demands of your customers, it really makes it challenging for that quick turnover. And investing in a $2 million cell to not know what's coming in the future is a pretty large risk. So why Robotique?
So yeah, he came across Robotique, I think maybe at a trade show, and he was really impressed with the thoughtfulness of the Robotique design. He liked that the seventh axis that the Robotique uses is coordinated with the robot. So the robot never stops its motion as it picks up a box from a conveyor to the pallet. As the axis moves up and down, the robot's still continuing to do its motion. A lot of the designs that he saw were like a telescoping, base where the base would move up and down, and as it moves up and down, the robot doesn't move. It just kind of pauses. And obviously that eats into cycle time. And, he thought that if Robotique thought about that design choice, that they were a good fit. And, for his team, he likes the maintenance too. They just add a few squirts of grease every couple of months, and it's really easy to maintain. Another reason why was we were able to offer the assistance on site. And so Olympus were pretty local to Cascade, about an hour away. And so we're able to easily come and do the installation. And then Robotique, we had some factory support from Robotique. And the technical trainer came, David, and really helped us make sure that the deployment was smooth. And so he helped us with some best practices, training some operators. And then also when we ran into issues, we had a direct line to the support team. And any issues that came up, we were able to address within minutes. And before we even left for the day, we were able to feel good about some of the problems that came up. And then lastly, the Robotique system can bolt right to the end of line. They don't need any extra conveyors. Just bolt the Robotique system down and then add a couple photo eyes to your conveyor, and that's all that's needed. So all these things kind of contributed to why they landed on Robotique.
And there's a quick video kind of showing that coordinated motion. So you'll notice that seventh axis chassis moves while the robot is moving. And that really does help effectuate faster throughput. And it, we see many customers now considering that, every time you can make things more efficient and faster, it's only going to help in production. So I know that some of the items and concerns they had early on, Gina, were really with the personnel and what was this going to look like from an operator perspective. So I know that was a big consideration, and we worked really hard to make it user friendly. But everyone considers their software user friendly. But what did Cascade find as they were really engaging with the unit?
So as you'll see later on, a little bit of the UR interface that the operators use and dentist uses, but it's actually very easy. Usually it's a graphic for the operators to match the state of the pallet with the graphic on the screen to continue their program. All the operators on the floor can easily come over and turn on and off the gripper for vacuum, pause or start the program, and all of the maintenance crew are able to create their own pallet patterns. And this was all within a few weeks of the first install. And like I mentioned before, they needed that flexibility with so many customers, so many SKUs, changing requirements. They might need to change a pallet pattern, they might need to change a stack height. And so, they can do that on their own, and that's really powerful for them. And the last thing is with Robotique and Olympus being, good partners, and we communicate very quickly. And also us being local to the customer, and the fact that Cascade Coffee was really forthcoming with all the information we needed and really helped us have a speedy deployment. All of these things work together so that we had a really good
Certainly
project.
makes sense. Yeah, it's really important that it's a partnership, right? We want you to have success, and it really works well when we're all on the same page. Gina is part of Olympus Controls, which is one of many certified partners we have across the world. So if you're worried about replicating this, so maybe you're part of a global team where you need to make sure that this is replicated across multiple facilities. This is something that we can easily do across our network, and using these connections. All of our certified partners use that same lean robotics methodology in all of their processes and have access to both Universal Robots and Robotique product. So I encourage you, don't be afraid if you have multiple locations across various regions. We're more than happy to share that knowledge and wealth across the variety of regions. And obviously, in the speaking of the United States, specifically applied industrial technologies has a pretty wide scope. Gina, can you speak to this a bit?
Yeah, so within the US, Olympus Controls, which I'm a part of, has a bunch of sister companies that operate very similarly. And so everyone has a robot specialist like me. And so if you want someone local to you that can help you identify the solution, deploy it, and also give you support, we have people all over the US that can help you. I know in my case, Dennis and I were texting all the time, sending me pictures, and we had that open line of communication. And so if you're looking for that sort of partnership, we have people everywhere to help you out.
That's wonderful. Like I said, if you have multiple facilities, it's really seamless for us. We work with all of these partners you see pictured. So again, it's seamless for us on the vendor side, and then they make it very easy on the communication front at a local level. And like I said, Gina being able to go right on site and do walkthroughs and really understand their process. You are, in the end, you're the expert of your process, right? We're not here to understand how you give us boxes, right, to palletize. Rather, it's really important for us to understand some of the pain points, and so we can help you and make sure it's a good fit. It's really important. Again, think of that design phase, how important it is at the beginning. So through that, we have a few different tools we can use. One of the best tools, I would argue, is our simulation tool. So you'll see here a quick video highlighting this simulation tool. It's public. It's an open link for anyone to use, and you can use that data you have existing and import it into here to simulate your project. You can put in the box size, the conveyor, the pallet, and then obviously create that pallet pattern. That's the most important part of the palletizing, right? We want to make sure that you can replicate your existing stack pattern as it is, because we know that they're made the way they are for stability and easy transport. So in this instance, you'll see that the first few layers were one design, and then they alternated A, B, A, B, A, B for the patterns moving forward. This is exactly what we did for this customer, right? We went ahead, implemented the information, and obviously that's sped up a bit there, but you can see the whole process, how those trajectories are going to be mapped out. And then at the bottom, it actually tells you an idea of how many boxes per minute you'll be able to move based on the information you input in the tool. When you consider that design phase, your goal is to get up and running into production as quickly as possible, right? You might not have 100% perfect cell, but 90% is good, in the sense that you want to get it up and running as quickly as possible, because time is money. We all know this, but it's really important to, again, keep it simple and stay focused on that. And one of the best ways to do that is through standardization. So having existing product, such as the Robotique palletizing solution, allows you to have all of these things de-risked on the front end, so that when you drop this onto your floor, it's really just honing in on the important key aspects, making sure your pick position is well aligned, and making sure that we're matching the pattern that you need. All of the other aspects have been de-risked for you. So Robotique has a variety of solutions that fit within the lineup. We have an AX series as well as a PE series. AX stands for axis, that you saw highlighted with that coordinated motion. And then we also have the PE series, which is a pedestal mount, now accessible with the new 20 kilogram robot. So the ability to go up to 40 pounds, and now continuing to expand as UR expands now with their 30 kilogram Cobot as well. So just wanted to kind of highlight the importance of standardizing, and the fact that we offer this lineup so that if you come to us with a product, we can make sure that we have the right fit for you. The idea of standardization is really to make it easy. If you consider your smartphone, you don't really think twice when you go to any of these apps to use them. it's second nature to you, right? They've made it easy for you to use, and we have applied the same principles to our system as well. Universal Robots makes it very easy to sit on their platform and allow third parties such as Robotique to build apps that sit on their Teach pendant, and that creates that user experience that's very positive, as Cascade understood as well. If you consider, even with all of the expertise that Dennis had from his past, I would imagine this is probably what he felt like considering putting all of these things together himself, right? How do I connect all of these different things, tooling, pathing, sequences, wiring, hardware, software, all of that is really difficult, right? We want to help you avoid what you see in this image here. And that's what Cascade realized as they went through their process as well. And they really engaged with us and understood what our product could offer them. That easy button was key for them. And again, usability was really important across their facility because they wanted to own it. Some of that flexibility that you can see and highlight here in this video are the variety of tools that we have. So we offer specifically grippers with a few different varieties and sizes, and the flexibility to move from one box size to another, all within the same bracket. That's just kind of the concept of how Robotique has developed our solution. And then obviously to be able to stack to that 106, 108 tall pallet stack to fit a full shipment out the door. So the understanding of flexibility, even within our product as we design it, I just wanted to make sure to highlight that to emphasize the importance, because we know the experience and making sure that it's flexible for the future is important as well. If you consider the phases of lean robotics, that's really sums up the design phase, right? How can we gather that data from you? Gina and her team often walk factory floors, and they make sure that we're picking a good starting point. Again, starting simple is key and building from there. And then that second phase is really the integrate phase. So it's really exciting to sit and plan, and maybe you're stuck in that planning phase and you can't seem to get out of it. You've been wanting to deploy Cobot palletizing for 5 years, but you just never made it happen. Let's dive a bit into that integration phase and really show how it brings the reality. So Gina, what did that look like for Cascade?
Yep. So last or a couple summers ago, Dennis reached out to Robotique to get some more info, and then within a couple of days, Robotique had gone back with those simulations, and Dennis felt good about that. And so within a week, Robotique had let us know that there was interest, and so we came on site. We took some measurements, looked at the floor plan, made sure that all the information looked good. And then within a month, we were able to generate a proposal for what the solution would look like, and then got the order within the next month. And then soon after that, they decided, you know what, we're going to do 5 more units, which was awesome. And then within 3 months from the initial contact with Robotique, we had a full palletizer running to full production rate, which was really great. So they kind of were able to hit that quick timeline just from good communication from all 3 teams.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And again, we want to help you de-risk on the front end, do those simulations, run through that process so that, we're not talking 3 years, we're talking 3 months to deployment. So it can happen very quickly if we are diligent in those steps. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you. Now Gina's been through it multiple times with many different customers, and she can share that expertise with you and replicate the process over and over again. So what did startup assistance look like for you, Gina? I know that some Robotique expert came on site. How did that kind of help you in that process with Cascade?
So we had our Olympus team do the install as well as P&W controls. And then David from Robotique flew in, and he kind of helped us out with getting everyone trained up and good best practices for the team. And then, just really made sure that first install was smooth, and then we could kind of replicate that with the rest of the cells and make sure, everything went well. And Olympus, since we're the local Universal Robots distributor, we're also the certified training center. So anyone that wanted to come do an official training or workshop with the robots was able to come locally to our facility and learn.
Great. So it's kind of that continuous knowledge, not just understanding how to use the palletizer, but some of the ins and outs of the Cobot as well, to better the knowledge across the facility.
Yep.
So the typical deployment that we try to aim for, and I think was replicated with Cascade Coffee, is really over 1 to 3 days. So the idea is that the first day we uncrate the solution, we get it mechanically installed. It is set up and ready then for day 2, where we really focus on the software and programming. So making sure that we're replicating, again, those patterns and information data set that is existing and putting that into the software, and making sure that we're tweaking things and making sure everything's aligned properly. So dedicating a day to that to make things run smoothly. And then focusing, that day, having people there to help watch, but then also, I think, you specifically, Gina, over with Cascade, did this over a couple of days, being able to hit all of the different shifts of operators and make sure they're all trained up, I think was really important as well. If that knowledge sits at our level or at our partner level, we know it's no good to you. We want to be able to extend that knowledge so that you can have confidence running the systems, and that was really important. And I know Cascade set aside time with operators to be there while you were there on site to really learn as well, which is key. So we talk about easy integration, but often I'm asked, what does that look like from the operator perspective? The operators really just have the ability to run different programs. This would be specific for the maintenance crew, for instance. In Cascade's case, I know that their maintenance crew has access to actually edit programs, and the operators simply select the program to run that day. So this is a good example of the teach pendant that comes with the Universal Robots robot, along with our palletizing solution. So that same information set that I mentioned earlier about box size and your pattern, all of that is input into the system here. And one position is being taught, which is being shown there, which is the teach position. So you're teaching what that pick position is off the conveyor, and then everything becomes relative to that one position taught. So as soon as you get that kind of locked in, then it's just a matter of importing other data information, such as your pallet size. Do I want to go to the left side, to the right side, or both? And then dropping in your pattern. So it's as simple as hitting the plus button and dropping in your pattern. You'll notice the arrows in this image. That's actually a label. So I know Cascade, it was very important being in the food sector that labels are facing out when it's shipped to their customer. So the ability to allow labels to face out is really important and something that we've replicated in our software. You'll notice that this is a pattern B. So again, you can create that alternating layer set within the program here and really make it to your liking. So if you want to add a little bit of space here, a little bit of space there, or really get it tight so that when it's gone to the wrapper to wrap around, everything's really tight and fit nicely on the pallet, that's all possible here. And then you build out how many layers you have. So say I have 6 layers and they're alternating. You can go ahead and alternate those layers simply in the software here. And you're really off and running at that point. The settings screen allows you to kind of use different speed settings and set different items. But at that point, you're really just setting up your gripper, being able to turn the vacuum on and off, and everything else is run through our trajectories. So when we say it's easy, we truly mean it's that easy. You can set up a new program within 5-10 minutes. And then once that program is developed, you can save that program and have it stored so that all you're doing is calling up the recipe. Again, operator could be locked out of the screen and the operator simply has to select the right program to run. And I know that's how they're operating at Cascade as well. So that's a little bit of the integration phase, and I really want to jump into probably the most exciting, which is that operate phase. So it's all great, those steps from the design to the integrate, but really, what does it look like when Cascade's up and operational, and what does that look like today? I know that's always the goal and where we're always headed. So what does that look like, Gina?
So as Dennis kind of mentions in this quote, everyone got really comfortable with the robots very quickly. And so operators can walk right up to the pendant and turn off the gripper if they need to rework a box, something upstream happened. maintenance crew can come over and make a quick change. And so everyone, within a couple of days was ready to use the robot, and there was no more fear around using the robot or being near it. And so it was really great to kind of see that adoption really quickly. Multi-pick is a feature where if you want to do double picks of boxes, that's available to you. And so when we went on site to do one of the installs, one of the machines had a higher throughput than we thought or originally intended for. And so it was no problem. We just got another photo eye, bolted it right to the conveyor to, verify the second box was there, and then we were able to build out double pick pallet and, get double the throughput. And then I think in his case, there was maybe a box that needed to get picked by itself just to finish out that layer. And then, the machine is constantly getting a good outfeed of product. So it was really nice to have that feature. And so I think in this video, you can kind of see a double pick happen.
Yeah, so multi-pick's a great feature that, again, we like to innovate and create things better within our system. So some customers like Cascade Coffee allowed that feedback. I think, Gina, you mentioned it was even a beta version at the time, right? And now it's
Yeah.
a set feature, but it was really a beta test. And Cascade Coffee was, our developers quickly developed this to make sure that it could be tested on site to help them with their throughput and make sure we could meet the rates that they needed. You'll notice also the system can run a bit slower because it's picking multiple boxes at a time. So if you consider a Cobot and the space it's in, maybe it's in a tight space constraint, being able to pick multiple boxes at a time in, we can pick 2, 3, 1, it doesn't matter within that pattern how we pick them. That could certainly help not only with your throughput, but also considerations of safety and things around the system as well. So I know one of the things they highlighted when we consider this operate phase was how is it going to be used? How are we going to keep up with our line, right? And so I know that this is something that was important to them. So you'll notice that this operator is actually pulling away the pallet while the system is still running. I think even when you were on site, Gina, the important, like you see the line there is backed up. That can't be happening every day, right? We need that continuous operation. So this was important to them as well, right?
Yeah, being able to continue to move boxes out of the way and continue the flow of the machine was really great for them. And operators have no fear going near the robot to put a new pallet down or take a pallet out.
Great. So I know ROI is a big talk, and you're often in conversation with customers about this, Gina. So how did that conversation go with Cascade? What was their goal?
Yeah, so for all the systems, they're able to get their ROI within a year. And with that first system, I think it's always good to start out with one robot system and then duplicate if you need to. So with the Robotique Palletizer, they're very easily able to do that. So on their manufacturing floor, you'll see all 6 palletizers in a row, working on all the different lines. And so, yeah, I think it's been over a year now, so the robots are fully paid off, which is awesome.
That's pretty exciting. And I know that we all want to find that application we can easily rinse and repeat. And that's really what palletizing is. If you think about all those different stations of manual hand stacking, it's a great fit for palletizing. And Cascade Coffee recognized that pretty early on in those conversations, which was great. So what did that kind of look like for them in the end, Gina?
Yeah, so as Greg says here, they thought the ROI was a slam dunk and a really smooth install. And I think that just because robotic palletizing is a tried and true case, or robotic use case, and so the risk was pretty low for them. And it turned out to be a great ROI for them. So I think it helped out to have a local contact to help do the install and the great factory support from Robotique. And working with the customer who was prepped and ready to go for us when we were on site. And so all these things kind of helped have that smooth install with a very low risk.
So we talk
So
about ROI, but what did that lead to as well?
yeah, so beyond the economic impact, without, having the revolving door of operators who didn't want to palletize anymore, a lot of the team got their time back from training all these new hires and all these pallet patterns and box types. And so everyone can be dedicated to other tasks that are more value add. And then, we talk about continuous flow. And so having a robot dedicated at the end of line to take care of that part of the equation. And now everyone can focus on making sure the machine upstream runs smoothly. That really help with their throughput and making the whole process more efficient. Some of the rewards, I think initially, and this is probably with any company, when you put a robot on the factory floor, there's a bit of hesitation from, maybe the operators, like what's going to happen with my job. And they did think that initially, but very quickly they realized, oh, we're not going anywhere. We're just helping make sure the other processes are running well. And so they were able to do more with the same headcount, less stress on them to do, more product. They were able to do that with the robot. And soon they started treating the robot as another coworker. As you can see, they were naming the robots. And actually, when we were on site and had to do some debugging and pause the machine, you could really feel, I guess, the stress because people had to go back to palletizing. And once you take care of palletizing with a robot, no one wants to go back and do that after they've had some, a break from it. And so it was really great. And then, one of the obvious things is ergonomic improvements. Now people aren't lifting and twisting pallets and stacking them up. And so that obviously helps the company and the employees.
I hear that a lot, obviously, in conversation I have about these different installs. And to your point, whenever it's you're troubleshooting and getting the system initially kicked off, once it starts doing the task, no one wants to go back to it. I would agree with you there, Gina. I also understand that, some of these, operators were hesitant at the beginning, but what it did is it actually allowed them to move into these jobs and tasks in the facility that not only helped them increase their performance, but it also gave them an opportunity to have a pay raise. So in the end, they were going to a task that was better value add for the overall operation, but it also was a bump in their pay. And this, again, resulted in a happier employee, which then resulted in a better output. That's natural in any kind of deployment that we see. So again, it's really important to understand kind of how that impacts. And this was really an unexpected win for Cascade Coffee. Obviously, they wanted to better the safety and day to day of their operators. But in the end, they didn't really necessarily expect this, and it was a positive thing that impacted their employees. If you take a look at the numbers overall, I think this is a pretty cool summary. They palletize 6,500 cases per day, and I would argue that's probably even higher today now that they've really created efficiency within their systems. I bet they're even doing more than that. It only takes about 5 minutes to train that operator to switch programs and different recipes. And again, that ROI number for 6 units in a little bit over a year, which they already saw that payback for, is really impressive. And it's really led to future conversation now with Gina to talk about what's next for them, right? And where can other cobots kind of be implemented as well.
Yeah, so now that they've had the robots for, over a year now, they feel really good about the system, knowing how to navigate the UR interface. And so they came back to Olympus and asked, what other applications can we look at? And so now we're looking at some, other midline operations like box erecting and case packing with some UR robots and probably some custom end effectors. And then we're also looking at some palletizing with open cases, which is a little bit more complex. So it's great that they started off simple and now are considering, maybe a bit more complex project.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, it's very exciting. Again, start simple with the palletizing application and certainly build from there. And that's exactly what Cascade did. So if you want to start your project with us, this is some of the information that you could certainly share with us. Some of the basic data that we need are box information, pallet pattern. It really helps with images and video. If you're able to share those, I think if we can't necessarily be right on site, kind of sending us pictures and video of the area in which you're thinking about automating really gives us a sense of what the space is. Again, Gina and our partners across the states can certainly come in and take a look as well. I think there's a lot of benefit there. And then let's just set up a call. Let's discuss. We're here to be all ears and help you along this journey so that you can be the next customer of ours to have a successful deployment and really figure out how to implement them in your factory effectively. So with that, we really appreciate your time today. Are there any questions? If you already have put them in the chat, or if there are any questions that you're thinking of right now, we really encourage you to share those with us. We'll do a little Q&A here.
Great. Thank you so much, Kendra. Thank you so much, Gina. Maybe I will go right away to the questions. So thanks everyone on the line. We see a lot of clapping hands. You were more than 500 people interested in this webinar, so really appreciate it. So maybe we go to the question. So Sean White, thanks for your question. Well, it's inevitable. We see here some Cobot palletizing deployed without fencing. No barriers in place in your tool. What would you answer to this, Kendra? I've already answered to Sean about some safety kits that we offer. Would it be the same answer you would have for them?
Certainly. So safety is not something we hide from. It's certainly a very important topic to consider. And Gina and I have these conversations often. It really matters where in the facility this is going to be located and how people are going to be engaging with that cell. So it's not a one size fits all. As Ellie mentioned, we have packages that are a 3-scanner system that sits on the palletizer and can scan out to an area. And if anyone would come into that area, it would go into a reduced mode or a stopped mode, again, based on a risk assessment done. We encourage those risk assessments to be done in-house if you have the ability. If you don't, we have our own resources or many resources across our network to make sure that risk assessment is done. Important thing to note, the Cobot itself, all of the natural Cobot features about what cobots are known for, being collaborative, working alongside people, having that speed and force reduction, that's all very present even in a palletizing situation, right? So the robot is still enabled with those features, but as you mentioned, it's really important to understand how it's being used in the facility, what speeds you need to meet. So if you're moving, 1 box a minute and it's moving super slow, and maybe you're not stacking over someone's head, you tackle that a bit differently than one that you're moving very quickly and stacking very, very heavy boxes at a tall stack height. So we have some good guidelines on how to do that. So Sean, I encourage you to maybe share some of that data, and we have a few different ways we can tackle it depending on your needs. But yeah, safety should not be shied away from. It's definitely important.
Great. Thanks, Kendra. I think it's a very complete answer. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to have more details. We'll go over a couple of questions real quick. I have a good one from James Paris. Thanks, James, for the question. If I have 16 different products on one line, will the robot know which to pick?
So very good. So if you have 16 different products coming down, we could use something to tell the system to do that. So the Universal Robots controller has Ethernet protocol, and you could talk to a PLC, for instance, to tell it what program to run based on, maybe you scanned a box in line and you said, hey, I want to run the box that I scanned. Often, like I think this is in the instance with Cascade, it's simply, hey, we're doing a full line changeover. We're running SKU 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. So someone goes to the teach pendant, simply selects recipe 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your taper is set up to do that, your labeler is set up to do that, and everything in line is set up. So during that changeover period, we would just change over to that different SKU, but no programming would need to be done, as it would probably already be inherent to the system.
Exactly, and I think that's and especially with Cascade Coffee, we see a lot of different SKUs. I think they had more than 400 SKUs, if I'm correct. So that's something you can keep in mind and be well aware of that. So very good question again from Joseph Foxworth. I appreciate, Joseph, the question. So have you come across any issues lifting from the top as opposed to lifting from the side bottom like a person normally would?
Certainly. So gripper is really important, and we've done a lot of testing and have a lot of knowledge in this space. As you can imagine, as Universal Robots has increased their ability to do 40-pound cases and now 50-pound cases, 60-pound cases, it's a different story. And I agree with you. It's very important to be able to pick those. If you see like an industrial cell, a lot of them have like a clamping mechanism or something different that they're palletizing with. So some of these tools are now being introduced to the Cobot because we have more payload to work with. But historically, we haven't had a lot of payload for our gripper to work with. So typically, we are picking from the top, just inherent to having a lightweight gripper, being able to have some flexibility with suction cups. If you noticed in the video, maybe Gina can speak to this, but the gripper selected was flexible because it had multiple cups and valves. So sometimes if we need to get a good grip, I think using maybe not just the 4 cups, but an array of cups, like a foam pad or something like that. Gina, maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, for this customer, we had a kind of an array style gripper, not like the one you saw in the video, just to be able to be flexible on all the different box sizes and double picks or single picks. But there might be cases where a standard vacuum gripper won't work. So, like the open case palletizing we mentioned earlier, we're investigating that, and that might require a custom tool. But standard for these systems would be just a vacuum array gripper, or like the one you saw in the video, the power pick.
And to mention that, many of our partners, including Gina's facility where she resides, has a demo palletizer available. So the ability to do some of this testing, we would want to make sure we do that due diligence and test. Many of our partners, Universal Robots partners, have a pneumatic lineup as well. So the ability to do that testing, I think, is key, especially for some of those larger cases. So let's get some samples, let's do some testing, and make sure that it's a good fit.
Right,
Yep,
exactly.
in Seattle, we have a UR20 palletizer. So if you want a BYOB or bring your own box, we can test it out.
I like that. I'm going to start using that, Gina.
Bring your own box. We love that. It's not a Sunday brunch, but so yeah, I think Joseph sent us a heart. So thanks, Joseph. I think you will
Very
answer
good.
the question, girls. Another good question. So how do these machines handle being in a bleach factory?
Excuse me, bleach? Is that right?
Maybe bleak.
Okay, so environment is really important to consider. The robot itself has an IP rating as well as our system. So often in the food and beverage space, we do see mixtures of bleach for wash down. We have a few different approaches. One is to remove the unit for that period of time when you're washing down. So if it's on third shift, you do that. We have fork slots now built into the PE20 version where it can be lifted and moved into a different area, so that wash down can be done upstream where maybe the raw food is being worked, and then it can be dropped back in into the same position so that we can just run the recipes as normal. We can create a datum with this bracket that we offer as well. So I'd say that is one technique. Another is simply to bag the unit as well. So being able to cover the robot arm, maybe some of these sprays, but the mixture of the spray is really important to understand. So we want to make sure that we're not creating corrosion or something as well. So let's maybe take that one offline, and we can maybe discuss a bit more what your solution concentration is and how we can maybe tackle that best in the space that you're looking to implement.
Thanks, Kendra. And girls, I have a good question. Again, Alejandro. So we really appreciate Alejandro participation. I think he's at his 6th webinar with us. So Alejandro, always a pleasure to have you on the line. So Alejandro is a little bit concerned maybe about the ROI. How can we best evaluate if we link it to the cycle time? So what is this latest cycle time and maybe the highest cycle time we can reach, and how it impacts the ROI?
Certainly. So that simulation tool is something that we use not just on the front side, but on the back side to make sure things are working well also. But as far as ROI, it really matters on the pattern and how many layers you have, and it's averaged across, right? So you have efficiencies built into the system, but I would really encourage that simulation tool to be used to understand what a typical throughput would look like. Because again, if you have just straight boxes across, you don't have label orientation, you're going to get upwards of 11, 12 picks per minute in some cases. So that's picks per minute in a simple case. Big cases, simple pick, that's what you're looking in the upward range. And then depending on, again, the different patterns and things, that alternates. Opening up the door to that multi-pick was really key for us, because now we have the ability, again, as Gina highlighted, picking multiple cases at a time, just like at Cascade. Now we are getting those 20 cases a minute or something like this. So we can map that out and make sure that that is considered in your ROI calculation as well. And, kind of use that as well in the calculation.
Yes, sure. And as I said to Alejandro, that's what we do. And this morning, I was looking at a project my colleague Guillaume, that you girls know, was doing. He was having a video of a very slow cycle time to respect collaborative mode, and we were comparing with another video with a faster cycle time. So this is something that we can do for you, and we can prepare some simulation with slower cycle time, and again the opposite, and compare the potential ROI on these solutions. So feel free to book a time with our team, and we'll be more than happy to test this. It can be BYOB or send, or BYOB, send YOB, like send us your box, and we can do the proof of concept also in our facilities. So maybe I have one of our colleagues, maybe you can write your name in the chat in your question about the bleak, because it's written as Elizabeth, so I cannot relate to the person. So you wanted to unmute. So the factory bottles the bleak. So the machine would have to be erosion resistant. The chemicals are in the air.
Very good. So I've been investigating this for another customer, and there's some ability to add a coating to our product that we offer right now. And we also have a few partners of ours actually using stainless steel and changing out the base to have a stainless steel base. In the end, the robot itself would still need to have a bag over it, or again, like I said, I think almost removing it from the space sometimes makes more sense because of the robot arm itself. But yes, that's exactly right. Corrosion resistance is something that happens, especially with those wash down solutions. So yeah, let's take a look at your facility, kind of how it's mapped out, and then we can maybe dig a bit deeper and understand.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the question here from Leo Medina. So thank you, Leo. It's from our partners group. So we'll make sure to connect afterwards, and we could definitely discuss this project with you. We had a good question also from our dear partner, Edgardo de Giorgio. So I don't know, Edgardo, if you're still on the line, but he was asking, and I think it's a good question also for our customer, is there an estimation of how accurate the simulation tool is against the real application on the field?
Yeah, that's a great point. So to kind of give you some insight under the hood, the same algorithm that's being used in our simulation is the same as what's being used in a deployment. So I'd say it's very accurate. If my simulation is accurate to what you have on your floor, the only nuance I've seen in that is where all of a sudden we get on site and the conveyor is not where we thought it was based on the simulation, or maybe the boxes aren't being picked as easily as what a simulation environment assumes. So sometimes those assumptions built into the simulator are the nuances to maybe the cycle time being a bit off. So in the advanced features, I didn't go into that within the simulation tool. You can actually indicate how long it's going to take to achieve vacuum, how long your grip release is going to be, and then even a pallet changeover as well if needed. So all of that can be added in and we can add those delays to give you the best representation of what it would be on your facility. And I agree, we shouldn't shy away from that. We should build in a little buffer if we can as well, right? If your need is 9 cases a minute, let's make sure we can achieve 10 or 11 and make sure that we have a little buffer built in. I think that's a fair thing to do. One thing I didn't mention during the presentation, we also have the capability to manage slip sheets or tier sheets. So that's another thing that can be built into the simulation, a delay for that. to indicate, how much time it would take to go pick a slip sheet and place a slip sheet in between some of those layers for stability. And again, that's something that in a simulation, if you don't add that time, it's a bit different than if you're on site. That cycle could be 10 to 15 seconds. So.
Good question. So I like this other question, a bit more technical from Ron. Ron, I don't know if you're still on the line. So are your cobots rated at their maximum reach? Let's say 20 kilogram at max reach.
So yes, maybe Gina can speak to the UR side a bit more, but it's just really important. I think UR is unique in that. So other Cobot brands do not have that rating. They are derated very quickly, even in a full outreach position. But Gina, if I understand correctly, that's what's unique to UR.
Yep, there's a full payload capability in the full reach of the robot. I will say though, as your end effector gets further and further from the tool flange, your payload rating might go down. And there's a little graph in the UR manual where you can kind of see that. And so in one of the cases at Cascade Coffee, they had really small boxes. And so we had an extension bracket to extend the reach of the robot. And as that got further and further, the payload went down slightly. So that is something to look out for. But for the most part, the robot itself, yeah, it's rated for the full payload.
And again, in that simulation tool, you can put in the payload of a custom gripper and put in those offsets so you know exactly where that will be for that feasibility. It's really important. It's just like a lever, right? If as soon as I'm trying to hold something heavy out here versus here, it's a bit different. So as you extend beyond that flange for an offset, that's exactly where you see it. What's really nice is the PE20 now opens the door to more reach just built into the arm itself. So less offset has to be done. We see maybe 5 to 10% of the cases actually need an offset off of the flange. But the 20 really opens the door to be able to eliminate that extra reach bracket.
Great. Thanks, girl, again. And maybe we have so many questions, so we will make sure that we follow up with all of you by email. I think we've gone over most of them. Yeah, again, there's a lot of people just saying thank you, excellent presentation. Thank you so much for so many insights. Oh, one last question that I think is very interesting. Sorry, I've missed this one from Arturo. Thank you, Arturo, for being there. Is there an ROI calculator? Like, do we have an ROI template to help us calculate our return on investment?
Yeah, there's a few different ones. I think Robotique has one, and Gina and the team may even have a different one that they typically use as well. So we can certainly pass that along. A lot of it depends on obviously how you input the data and what information is put. So let's maybe take that conversation a bit further offline, and we can help kind of dig into that data. But we'll certainly share a link with you to that tool that we offer.
Good.
Happy to do so.
Well, it's already 12:30. I think we can leave you to go, girls. We really appreciate the time that everybody took to join us today. Thank you, Kendra, Gina. So many insights shared with the people here. We're really dedicated to support all manufacturers around the globe, and especially in the United States in this case. So I'd say any last word to add, Kendra or Gina?
Just to emphasize that we will be sharing this recording. So if you have colleagues that you think it would be relevant to share with, just pass it along to them. You can view this after the fact by putting in your email and name. So I just encourage you. I want to thank you, Gina, for joining. You were the eyes on site for this deployment. I can speak to it all day, but you having had that kind of closer relationship and having gone on site and hearing directly from you was really cool. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always great to talk about, good customer experience, and yeah, it was really easy to present on. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. And maybe I'd add something that our last customer said in the previous webinar in French. He said, just do it. And it makes me think of what you have in your back. Just relax. In this case, it's just
it's so great. Yeah, the time to automate is now. So reach out to us. We're excited to get going. It brings us joy every day to help people achieve what Cascade achieves. So let us be your partner in that, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kendra. Thanks everyone on the line. Have a great end of day.